TRC EDC back here again with another first impressions video. This time we've got the 535 GRY-1, the Benchmade Bugout. Now this comes in a couple of different versions. One is the blue version with the satin blade, and it also has blue thumb studs. This version is the Ranger Green version. It's GRY for gray. It's referring to the blade here. And the blade is a gray chromium nitride, and it's got these brass colored thumb studs. Now, it also comes in, well, this knife doesn't come that way, but there's also the Benchmade Bailout that just came out, which is a similar idea to the Bugout, and it's just a little bit of a similar size, although the handle's shaped a little bit differently, and it has a pommel on the end, and it comes with a Tanto blade in 3V. That's a little bit longer than this one, just a touch longer actually, and it only comes in the Tanto. This is S30V. Now, like I said, this is S30V steel. It has that chromium nitride finish on it. It's an unnecessary finish. I say it's unnecessary because of the fact that S30V is pretty stainless on its own. It's a great steel. I love S30V. It doesn't get a lot of respect in this age of M390 and M4. What I'll say is snobbery, although I do really like my M390 and M4 as well. But people often overlook CPM 154, S30V, in favor of these other steels, when S30V is just one of the best steels around, and has been for quite some time. There might be slightly better steels here and there, but as far as bang for your buck, S30V pretty much is where you need to be for most people. Now, sometimes just knowing that you have a super steel obviously is fairly nice, and if you can afford it, great. But if not, there is absolutely nothing wrong with S30V. Don't let anyone tell you that it's a bad steel. It is an excellent steel, and it is an excellent everyday carry steel. Now, that's why the coating is unnecessary. That being said, I really like the coating. The way this knife looks is fantastic. Just the way everything comes together with the brass color and the grayish blade with the Ranger Green scales and the brass standoffs. See if I can get that to focus. There we go. So, I'll tell you, I resisted buying this knife for some time. There's a reason I'm doing this now instead of, a year ago when this knife first came out and when everybody was head over heels for it. I picked it up one time in a knife store and I was unimpressed. I like knives with a little bit of heft, some ZTs and Benchmade Contigo. I like knives with a little bit of heft, and frankly, this does not have that. And so when I picked it up the first time, I was really disappointed because everyone said such great things about it. I picked it up and it just felt cheap to me. And, I think other people have said that it can feel that way as well, especially when your expectations are made for you by a lot of online videos. So I stayed away from it. I even stayed away from the Bailout, which was actually pretty appealing to me. But I went to the store today and gave it a try, gave it another chance. And I have to say that I'm glad I gave it another chance. I picked it up and realized, I have to get over myself and give it a try. Everyone seems to like it. So I picked it up and... again, it has these Gregory handles. Gregory, I don't know exactly how to say it, but it's basically just fancy name for plastic. I wasn't enamored with the scales at first. I like, premium feel, titanium, even aluminum. I actually really like aluminum. People hate on aluminum, but I like aluminum. And one of my favorite knives and one of my first knives was the 943, which is an aluminum scales. in any event, I decided to go ahead and give this another try. And so there's a couple of things that I still don't like about it, but I have to say overall, I'm pretty happy with it so far. One thing that I do like about it is look at this profile. I mean, this is a very slim profile. It's one of the reasons that this is able to be so light. This thing is feather light. It's under 2 ounces. I believe it's slated as 1.8 ounces. I don't have a scale, so you know, I don't know exactly if that's how much it weighs. But they really did a lot of different things. They made a lot of choices to keep the weight down in this, which are very interesting. One of those things is really reducing the size of the standoffs. These standoffs are pretty tiny, which saves weight, obviously, and is great, but it also comes with pretty small hardware here on these torque bits. And there is some concern that when I open it up eventually, I assume I'm going to swap out scales at some point, because there's a lot of scales on the secondary market that people make for this. Rogue Blade works. I assume Death of All Things will make some as well. But Rogue Blade works has a bunch of them. And if you watch Zach's Stuff channel, he has almost every one of them. I'm honestly kind of jealous of the stash that he has of scales and Benchmade knives. And he also lives, I think, near the factory. But in any event, this is some of the choices they made, like I said, are using these plastic Gregory handles, keeping the screws small, keeping the standoff small. The pocket clip is a pocket clip that was made, I believe, just for the Bugout. Now, a lot of people are attaching it to different knives. It is quite a good pocket clip. It's deep carry. It's smaller, so the fact that it's small definitely saves weight, but because it is smaller, it also allows for the knife to be not visible. If you have a shirt that sort of hangs down a little bit over your pocket, you won't have anything sticking out, you know, all the way down here or anything like that. Another thing that they did to save weight is that this is not fully lined. You can see this screw right here. So this is a good and a bad thing. The good thing is you save the weight. The bad thing is, so this screw is sort of right in the middle, interrupting the look of it. And the reason it's there is because these are cartridge liners that basically go in a shape where it goes down toward here and then back up toward here. So there's little pieces protruding out, and that's the entire liner. If you want to, I'm not sure if you can actually see it in here, but I'll try to show you. Yeah, you can see it right there. You can see pretty much there's a screw, and you can see the liner in the middle. But I do really like the axis lock. One of the other things I really like is the blade to handle ratio. This is a fantastic blade to handle ratio. I don't have a Delica, but I've seen some other videos where people put this up against the Delica, and you can just see that even though the handles are very similar, the blade on this is much longer than the Delicas. And so the blue one, which is, when it first came out, it was about $100. I think now it's about $115. But at $100 or so, it was pretty much a Delica killer if the Chapparal wasn't already a Delica killer. And now, obviously, you've got the Para 3 lightweight, which I haven't tried, but which could also be a Delica killer. This is a great alternative to the Delica. I like the fact that you can get a full grip on this and go up and still feel like you have some blade here. I don't like feeling like my knives are short. This is not a 3.5 inch blade. I believe it's 3 1/8 or 3 1/4. And I prefer 3.5 to 4 inches. But here I don't feel like I'm missing a blade here. I feel like it's a full size. This is probably the smallest that I would consider to be a full size EDC, but it is full size because I sort of think of anything that I can get 4 fingers around and all on the handle as being full size, and I can definitely do that here. Some of the other things that I really like about this knife are the fact that the lanyard hole does not interfere with the pocket clip placement, or at least significantly interfere with it. I don't usually use lanyards, and I don't like when they block it. This is one knife, though, that I may try a lanyard on. So I may try it. If anyone has any suggestions on what type of lanyard to get, or if they have someone they like to buy beads from or anything like that, leave a message in the comments. Let me know what you like, or put a link to either your store or someone's store that you really like and respect. In any event, and I'm doing this review a little bit organically. This is not really a review. This is mostly first impressions. I just got this today, so I really haven't had much time with it. I will say that it did have some of the Benchmade lock stick when I first got it on the axis lock. That pretty much has worn away on many of the knives that I have. I got a 550-1 not too long ago, and when I first got that knife, I was pulling with all of my might. And I'm not a weak guy. I was a college athlete, and this it wouldn't move. It wouldn't move, and now it's butter. It really broke in great. It moves very easily now, but when I first got it, I literally could not pull it back, and every time this would thwack into the stop pin, it would force the axis lock deep into here, and it would be impossible to get back, and that's sort of what creates the lock stick. I've seen people sort of sand down, open up their knives and sand them down in order to get rid of that lock stick. I've never done that. It just wore in on its own. I'm probably going to try to do that here, but anyway, the lock stick is mostly gone in the first day, and I will say that there are, although I can swing this shut open and swing it shut and swing it open and swing it shut, you cannot do it with a gravity flick that easily. You do have to pull back the pin in order to flick it out. It's hard to do with the camera here. Unlike, for example, the 940. Whoops, it's hard to do on the table, but which I can easily do that with. I think I might have scratched the knife. Oh well. This is going to be a, sort of get up and go knife for me. Let's see. Like I said, S30V. The blade stock on this is razor thin. And so this is going to be a great slicer. The coating will probably create a little bit of drag, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm very happy with the coating. This is on phosphor bronze washers, and like with all phosphor bronze washers, they do take a bit to break in. Sometimes I just wiggle them back and forth when I'm sitting around doing nothing. And what that does is it wears it in. And as they wear in, I mean, you think about metal washers, as they wear in, they get smooth. And as they get smooth, the action gets smoother. And so this right now already has pretty good action, even though the blade is extremely light. Another thing to note is the balance point on this is about right there. I don't know if you can see that, the way the camera is. Balance point's about right there. It's a little high up, but it's not totally unexpected that it would be that high up. I believe that the part of the choice on the pocket clip that they put here was in order to create better balance, because otherwise it would be back heavy with a normal pocket clip as well, despite the fact that these are thin plastic handles. As far as the different scales that go on this, I know that they do make carbon fiber scales for this. They make titanium scales. Like I was saying about Zach's stuff, he has a version of Rogue Blade Works micarta scales. I think that's the only one they ever made, according to one of his videos. It's a shame, because I really would have liked one of those. And maybe I'll contact Rogue Blade Works and see what they can do. about that. And if you know of anyone who's doing micarta scales for this, please let me know as well in the comments, because I really like micarta. They also do G10 scales for this as well. There is one of the reasons you might want to replace them. It's not just because of the feel of it. If you ever felt a Griptilian, it's the same stuff, the base model Griptilian, but there is a little bit of flex here. I don't know if you can see that. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if this was regular plastic and it didn't flex at all, just like, you know, metal, a metal edge that's rock weld too hard, it'll chip, it'll break, and we don't want that. You know, I keep talking about Zach's Stuff channel, but he's honestly done the best job, I think, of anyone I've seen on YouTube, going through the bug out and showing all the different versions that you can have and what it can do. He has a separate video where he really beat up on this thing and put it through its paces, tried to see if it would break or not, and with really hard use, it stood up to it. He ended up being able to actually do a giveaway with the knife that he used in the video, because it had stood up to it. So those are my first impressions of this. I really like it so far. I just noticed that there also is this, I don't like when the tang, there's a space between the tang and the handle here. So I'm not a big fan of that, but as Nick Shabazz would say, it's a deal, but not a big deal. In any event, I'm very happy I got this. I'm really looking forward to carrying it, and I'm gonna admit to you that I'm probably going to be carrying this in addition to something else, just because I feel like I want to have it on me for the next couple of weeks and really give it a good go and a good shot, do a good review on it. But I also don't want it to be my only knife that I'm carrying, and the fact that it's so light, I feel like I need to take advantage of that by, well, carrying more than one knife. I know I'm not the only one out there who does that. If you're someone that does that, let me know in the comments how many knives you carry on a regular basis and really what you carry. It's always interesting to see what you guys are carrying. But thanks for bearing with me. This has been a very long first impressions video. I don't think I've ever done one this long, and most of them are not nearly this long. But there's a lot to talk about with this. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. I would really appreciate it. I really appreciate each and every one of my viewers. I'm still a small channel for now and definitely trying to grow. Please also leave comments and like it and share with your friends. I'm happy to talk knives with y'all. Take care. Bye.